Wolfpack Nation, thanks for tuning into our live stream tonight. As you can tell, we don't have our whole crew here, but we're still ready to talk some Wolfpack sports. So you know the drill. Drop any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts down in our comments, and we will get to them. All right, first, let's get it out of the way, talk about it. NC State men's basketball had their first ACC loss this week to UNC Chapel Hill, who is now advanced to number 3 this week. So definitely a tough team to go about beating. What were y'all's takeaways from that game? What do you think went wrong? What do you think needs to be improved upon if we want to beat UNC later in the season? And bright side, what went right?
I guess the bright side is I made it home after an 8-hour drive. That was probably the only bright side. It was, I don't know. I felt like low energy from that game, man.
Agreed.
We couldn't make a shot in the ocean. So
It was
I don't even know how to describe it. Michael, help me.
Yeah. I mean, if we want to talk, positive takeaways, I mean, you can say the defense. I mean, defensively, you held UNC to 67. They're averaging over 80 a game. So that was pretty good, but obviously.
Yeah, when we were talking about go ahead. Sorry. When we were talking about over-unders last week, I think we all kind of had this being a higher scoring game. The over-under had it being a high scoring game. So yeah, holding UNC to far less than their average amount of points is a positive. But it was a tough game to watch. It was close in the beginning. And then it looked like NC State didn't really develop throughout the game in ways that they have in other games, which was really frustrating to see. What did y'all see comparatively in the win at Louisville?
Yeah, I'll be honest. Thanks to the CW, I wasn't able to watch that game since I'm a cord cutter. I did follow it online as much as I could. It was a game that shouldn't have been that difficult, but became difficult. I don't know. You're at what, 13, 14 points with 2.5 minutes left, and they get it down to 3, and I don't know. I don't know what wrong. I mean, obviously, it sounded like they were pressing us, and we were having a lot of turnovers.
For
yeah,
sure.
I mean, compared to our season average, yeah, we turned it over against Louisville more, but kind of the opposite.
Made shots.
We're hitting everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you gave up 80, but you almost hit 90 on the offensive end.
Yeah, different pace game, right?
Yeah.
Michael O'Connell played some more, which really the offense, I think, is a little more efficient when he's in there. And it helps when, he's 3 of 3 from 3. He's not, you're not relying on him to be a 3-point shooter, but when you can get that from him on a night, that's you probably have a good result.
Yeah, and it's funny, we were all praising DJ Horn for coming, or Coach Keatts for DJ Horn coming off the bench, and we later find out it's because he was late to a film session. So I don't know. Do you just have him come off the bench from now? I mean, it seemed like he was comfortable scoring what he scores, season high 27.
Yeah, he looked good.
Yeah, he did look good. And again, you have to stick to those rules. It's if you're late, and you shouldn't be able to start. But yeah, maybe he is more comfortable coming in off the bench. And it's funny, we almost saw an opposite problem of the UNC game. Again, you were saying in the UNC game, the defense was our positive, held UNC to way less than their season average points. But the defense became an issue in Louisville, again, up by 14, got it down to 2, and pulled out a win of 6?
Yeah.
So definitely opposite issues there.
Well, speaking of opposite, right? You look at our shooting percentage, it was almost double from what we shot against Carolina. We shot 27% Carolina. We shot almost 53% against Louisville. Now, granted, level of competition, night and day, right? You're talking the number 3 team in the country versus a team that's not even 500.
Right.
Yeah.
But road game.
Andy says, we had a good bounce back at Louisville, or was it? Would you consider this a good bounce back from UNC? Do you think we're where we need to be going into tomorrow's game, or not so much?
Well, again, I mean, this is a team that's undefeated on the road in ACC play, right? We've beat the teams that we should beat, and we've lost to the teams that you would think that we were not favored in. So we have not done anything horrible, but we've not done anything exciting, right? So we literally, I feel like, are a middle of the row meh team.
Yeah. I mean, you haven't played yourself out of
Global status. Yeah.
specifically looking at the NCAA tournament, yeah, you're not any closer really to making it, but you're not out of it at all. But when you look at specifically the ACC tournament, you've set yourself up pretty well for that double bye, going
Right.
4-1. So
Right.
it's like,
and we're a quarter of the way through the ACC schedule.
Yeah. And Russell says we have to start winning some Q1 games to have a chance in March. And Nicholas says we have a tweet of the week about this, so we'll hop on it later. It says tomorrow's game against Wake Forest will be a big indicator to see where we are. And I agree. I think that game is a really good indicator of teams that should be pretty evenly matched to see where are we thriving against evenly matched opponents and what do we really need to build on if we want that double bye and we want to be competitive for the tournament.
Yeah, this Wake Forest game could be a game when, the tournament committee is looking at resumes at the end of the season. This could be one of those head-to-head defining who gets in, who doesn't get in. I think this is – look, and I think there's a chance that this is a Q1, Q2 type game. Michael, I know you're much smarter about those things than I am, so maybe you can clarify. But again, we don't have a lot of these opportunities on the schedule. So I think in that regard, you've got to start banking some of these, higher quad opportunities, or you're going to have a hard case making a case to get in the tournament.
Right. Yeah, we have a tweet of the week about this game if Michael wants to jump into some of those specifics. So let's hop over to our tweets of the week. All right, so our tweet says, big one in Raleigh on Tuesday, State hosting Wake, with both teams 4-1 in the ACC, both teams trying to stay in that competing for double bye territory. This is what we talked about, looking for that double bye and talking about how these somewhat evenly matched games really affect what we look at the end of the season. So what do you think State needs to focus on to pull out this win against Wake? And how do you think winning or losing this game affects them moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to shoot well. This is not a game you're going to be able to win with just defense because Wake's just outscoring everybody pretty much. They're putting up 80 plus, just like Carolina. But you're going to have to keep up with them. I think DJ Burns had a couple big games last year against Wake. Mm-hmm. They do have Wake has brought in a different center. Efton Reed from Gonzaga, so that'll be an interesting matchup because he pretty much dominated Wake both games last year. Right. So it's definitely, I think they'll probably try to go back to Burns early again. Last year Wake was not, Steve Forbes pretty much did not want to double Burns at all. He just said we'll let him beat us, which he ended up doing. But so with different personnel, I'll be interested to see what they do there.
Yeah, this team, I mean, just feels like a Jekyll and Hyde team. Well, like you don't know what shooting version of the team you're gonna get. So I don't know. It's really hard for me to get up or get down with this team. It's just kind of what it is, and they definitely drive you crazy because you see glimpses of, oh, look at us shooting 54% from the field. Look at us shooting 45% from 3-point land. And it's like, why can't you do that every game? So, and I know it just seems very simplistic in and of itself, but this team is an enigma for sure.
Yeah. Again, we're seeing this team have opposite issues every other game. They're shooting 50% and then the next game they're shooting 25%. So what do you think Keatts needs to focus on, whether it be in practice, on those sidelines, whatever, to make this a team that will beat Wake?
I think it's just running your offense, whatever that offense is. I think we've done a pretty good job for the most part this season on the defensive side. The one thing that, you can always say about Kevin Keatts' teams is they come up and play hard. Though I thought we kind of gave up a little bit in that Carolina game the other night. We got it down to like 2 or 3, and then we kind of just fell apart. I think within like about a minute, they stretched it out. But I just think it's creating good shot opportunities, whether that's driving the ball to the basket. We've got some guys really struggling right now to get points and to find their game. So that's kind of the big thing is like, do you have 7, 8 guys that you really trust out there that can, show up and make baskets and get stops for you?
And who do you guys think are those most significant offensive pieces?
I mean, well, the ones that we need to play like it are Casey Morsell and Jaden Taylor right now. The last couple games they have not been good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, like DJ Horns and DJ Burns have been carrying the team here recently.
Yeah. I think we kind of talked about this, when we did our season preview. It's who was going to be that guy or guys that were going to be able to replace Traquavion and Jarkel, right? Because we saw a lot of point production go out the door when those two left, and to this point, you really haven't seen that person that's quote unquote the reliable that will give that to you every game. You've seen glimpses where one guy, like Michael said, it would be DJ Burns, or DJ Horn. You've seen a couple of games where, Jaden Taylor's had a couple of nice games here and there, but nothing consistent. And I think that's kind of what you're seeing in these shooting percentages that you see.
And Michael, do you expect this to be a Q1 game?
So it probably, well, it's hard to say. Right now, Wake's at 45. They have to get to 30 to be a Q1 game since this one is at home. I probably don't see Wake getting all the way up to 30 throughout the rest of the season. I mean, if they do, that's great. Because either way that helps us. But it should be solidly a Q2 game, which those are just a lot of importance on those two.
For sure. And talking about those playmakers, HS says here, Casey Morsell is shooting 28% from the 3-point line. And shout out to Casey here, who had his 1,000th career point this past week. So very exciting news for him. A little bit of a brighter side here to talking about basketball. How have you guys seen Casey kind of evolve in his time at NC State? And what do you hope to see from him the rest of this year?
Yeah, I mean, he's a competitor, so he's going to keep fighting through whatever he's got, whether, if his offensive game is not up to his snuff. I mean, he still gives you everything on the defensive end, and he's still, guarding their one or two best player on the defensive side of the ball. This is his last season, so you definitely want to see him go out and kind of just leave it out on the court and have his best season yet, because this is his last opportunity in college.
Right. All right. And then switching gears a little bit to women's basketball. Women's basketball is back in the top 5 this week, coming in at number 4. For those of you who haven't been keeping up with the rankings as much, women's basketball spent 3 consecutive weeks at number 3 before falling to number 6 last week after a loss to then number 11 Virginia Tech. Beat Virginia in a pretty big win this past week and are now back at number 4. What do you guys think of this ranking? Is this deserved, underrated, overrated? And what do you hope to see from this team moving forward?
I think Michael and I both think it's crap. Yeah.
At least one spot, right? You're behind Colorado, who you have a 18-point victory over
on a neutral court.
Yeah, it is what it is. It doesn't really matter because it's just we're nitpicking. But
here's the problem: like that game happened back in November, and so people will be like, "Well, that's how they're playing now," and teams are going in opposite directions. Blah 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 blah. All of the justification, all the justification points for why they don't want to put State at number 3. Like I get it, Colorado plays in the Pac-12, which is a pretty good conference. It's probably the second best conference in women's college basketball, if you ask me. But I don't know, like 18-point neutral court win is pretty darn significant. And State's loss was a 1-point buzzer beater on the road with one of your top 5 scorers not in the lineup. First of all, I don't know how you dropped him as far as you dropped him with one loss on the road to a fringe top 10 team. Now, granted, they did get beat yesterday by Florida State, so that was nice. So we're now back tied for first in the league.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still a long season.
Yeah. For sure. And what do you want to see from this team moving forward? And what do you think would, convince the committee that this is a top 3 team, a top 2 team, even a number 1 team?
Yeah, I think you just go out and do what you keep doing. They're still in line for a 1 seed and hosting the first 2 rounds of the women's tournament. So that's really where you want to be come March. You want to put yourself in that conversation to where you're definitely, if you're a top 16 team, you're going to host, two games in the tournament. So as long as you're on that top 4 seed line, I have a feeling this team will be a 1 or a 2 seed come tournament time, and potentially be a 1 seed if they can go out and keep doing what they're doing and win the ACC again. Probably the toughest conference in all of women's basketball.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think you got to get River Baldwin back healthy too. That'll be. Sure. I mean, I think that definitely kind of limits the ceiling a little bit there. But from all reports, it shouldn't be more than another couple weeks. So
yeah, and we talked about it. Like, we got a bye week in there, and then we got we're not playing the toughest part of our schedule right now. Yeah. So that's a good thing. I did feel kind of sorry for Virginia because they had to get the brunt of what happened to us at Virginia Tech, and we could have dropped 100 burger on them if we really wanted to. We played our second stringers for about half the fourth quarter, and yeah, we could have easily put 100 on them, and they wouldn't have. That game could have been 100-50 easily if we really wanted it to be. So it was a nice bounce back. It was kind of a long way of saying that.
Yeah, Russell seems to agree with you here that there's a lot of really good teams in ACC women's basketball. Teams will beat up on each other. The winner of the league could have 3 losses. Yet it was kind of crazy to drop so far after a singular loss. And then Andy says we could be moving up soon if we win at Miami. Colorado plays number 5 UCLA and then number 6 USC next. So like you said, Greg, we're not currently at the toughest part of our schedule, whereas Colorado might be. So that can definitely be a factor in which teams are moving up in the rankings and which are moving down. But yeah, being 4 seems a little unreasonable now. But I mean, being in the top 5 is being in the top 5. So shout out the women for a fantastic season so far. But I still think they're kind of getting robbed here.
Well, and you have to, I don't want to talk too much crap about the AP, but a lot of these people aren't watching these games. Let's be real. Right. A lot of them aren't as invested. I've watched a few games that weren't NC State, and UConn's getting a lot of love right now because they're dealing with so many injuries and they're winning ball games, but they also play but they also play in one of the weakest conferences for women's basketball. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like Michael said, you want to get River back. You want to be playing your best ball in the end of February, beginning of March, and then you just want to go out and compete for an ACC title. Get that back because we had to give it up last year after 3 consecutive years. So let's get back what belongs to us.
For sure. All right, and then NC State cheerleading are national champions. The cheerleading and dance national championships were this past weekend, and one of NC State's stunt teams won a national championship. So congratulations to them. Always exciting to see, sports that maybe don't get as much funding or that people aren't thinking as much about still going out there and succeeding and showing that that's what NC State is all about. So shout out this team.
And I think I saw that we got first and third. Because it's the small group, so there's multiple teams from each school. So I think we got 2 out of 3 top.
Yes, spots. Yeah, we sent separate stunt teams. These are teams of 4, 5, 6 people competing, doing stunts, like you would see at a football game, a basketball game, things like that. So NC State had a stunt team that was first in the nation and third. So taking home 2 of the 3 top spots. So if you're not paying attention to cheerleading at athletic events, you should be.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about maybe actually making cheerleading an actual sport for these competitions, and I would honestly love to see that because we've had Coach Hamill on the program before, and I mean this is a dynasty program. Every year, they're competing for national titles and top 10 finishes. So it's we're not just a football school; we're a cheerleading school too. So.
Yeah, we're a school of many different things, which is what we try to talk about here on Tuffy Talk, and mentioning that here. NC State was a top 10 finisher in the Fall L Directors Cup standings for the third straight year, coming in at number 19, which just highlights the variety of different sports and success that NC State athletics shows. So shout out to all of the fall athletes who are out there making this happen. And for all of our viewers, again, make sure you're keeping up with these different sports at NC State, because it's not just football in the fall. There's all these different sports going on that are out there thriving.
Yep, for sure.
All right. And lots of football news this week. Okay, so here we have some Pac pros in the playoffs. I'm sure everybody's keeping up with playoff football. I saw somebody talking about it in the comments earlier. So there are some former Wolfpack players in the playoffs.
Yeah, I got a problem with this tweet.
All right, go.
My man Derek Pitts isn't on here, man. He's active. He's on the active roster for the Bucks. Let's go. Get it together.
Talk to NC State's graphics team, man.
Yeah.
I forgot. I meant to send him a message about this.
They can take off. Who's that? Is that Murchison for the Rams? He's out. They lost. So
yeah.
But you had it was Lions versus Rams, so one of them was going to win that.
Yeah.
Let's see who all they have listed here. Let me zoom in on my computer. It says Aleem McNeil, Bradley Chubb, Joe Thuney, Laurel Murchison, and Zonovan Knight.
Yeah, Zonovan's on injured reserve, and he gets some love.
He's a little star next to his name, a little asterisk.
Yeah, that's why. But I mean, my man Derek's active. He's on the active roster tonight. In fact, I was gonna put my Derek Pitts jersey on. In fact, the Bucks are up 3-0 right now over the Eagles. So.
He said Cowboys unfortunately embarrassed themselves. Yeah, I'm not a Cowboys fan, but that was a tough game to watch.
That's because they don't have any state players on. Well, that's a narrative we're gonna go with.
Yeah, get some state players, and maybe you won't humiliate yourselves. All right, but congrats to those mentioned and not mentioned who are pros from the Pac. All right, and then we had a lot of different transfer news and things like that. This says NC State kicker Colin Smith has withdrawn from the transfer portal. He's handled kickoff duty for the past 2 seasons at NC State. What do you think might be the reason for this change of heart, and how do you feel about him coming back?
I mean,
go ahead, Michael.
It's great you've got that experience coming back. And just gives you more options than one for your kicker. I think we had a sophomore kicker. I'm forgetting his name now. Vincent, something like that. Kanoa Vincent, I believe it was. But he was the only one. The other, I think we have 2 walk-ons coming in as like freshmen. But yeah, so it just gives you another reliable leg.
Yeah, my guess is probably just wanted to test the waters and didn't find anything better out there and decided to come back and State welcomed him back with open arms, and that's good. It's at the very least he's a reliable kickoff specialist, but he does have some field goal kicking under his belt. So if we don't bring someone else in, then he's definitely an option moving forward.
Yeah, I think it's very easy to forget about the value of a good kicker. And having ones under your belt, again, someone with that experience, someone who's not just limiting you to 1 or 2 kickers. So very excited to see him come back. I don't know if this is part of our One Pack collective, kind of some Savage Wolves work out there. We're unclear on that yet. Yeah, could be. That's, NIL, like we've said, has played a big role in college sports now. And so that's what your money goes to support a lot of the times, is people that you admire and that you think are successful on your teams coming back. So exciting news there. All right. And then this is one of our own tweets. Yeah. A little self-promo here. After initially entering his name in the transfer portal, cornerback Aiden White is coming back to NC State for 2024. Yeah. How do we feel here?
It's a big one. It's when we lost Shy Battle to the NFL draft and then we lost Aiden to the portal, we're like, okay, who fills in, who steps up? And we brought a couple of guys in, but it's now those guys that you brought in, can you still compete for a starting position or just add great depth? And so regardless, we now have depth at a position that we weren't so sure we were going to have depth at about a week and a half ago.
Yeah. And this one, Savage Wolves definitely played a part in this one. But when you talk about just the football aspect that we've talked about before, that Tony Gibson likes to leave his corners on an island a lot of time. And, Aiden White's one of the best in the country at doing that. So it's more, I wasn't extremely worried, but it's definitely more reassuring to have a proven guy come back like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You got it.
No, I was just say that has gone from a position of I don't know what we got to okay. I feel really good about this position now. And now you've got depth in case of injury. Knock on wood that doesn't happen, but you've given yourself an ability to, because here's the thing, because of the scheme we like to play, we play a lot of corners and so you put yourself in a much better position to defend, like Michael said, with how Tony Gibson likes to play. And so you can breathe a little easier with old number 3 back there, because he's going to be reliable. This is an all ACC guy. He's been first team. I think he's been second team. I think he's been an honorable mention with his time that I know of here at State. So much better.
And in the past weeks, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say the guys you brought in, Devin Marshall from Villanova and Corey Coley from Maryland, you're kind of counting on them maybe to be your starting cornerbacks. The Brandon Cisse also will be a sophomore next year. And now you can have the 3 of them, compete for that other spot. And if you need to, move somebody to nickel, because, we're losing Robert Kennedy too. So that nickel position is still up for grabs. Yeah. So you can get your 3 best cover guys out there, with Aiden White back, and it's a huge advantage.
Yeah, and it's something that I just thought of, like you kind of were alluding to. It's you got a guy now that's been in the system for 4 or 5 years, and so he can help those younger guys along. That's just another coach on the field, someone that's been there, done that, knows the league really well. Because all those guys that you just mentioned, other than Brendan Cisse, are new to the team and new to the ACC. So it can really help that room just from a leadership standpoint.
And we've talked over the past few weeks how with, our recruits, our transfers, we're creating this environment where if you do have an injury, you have people there that you can trust and rely on in all these different positions. And also that these guys are going to all be making each other better as they all kind of have this friendly competition of who will be the starter in different positions. So seeing Aiden White come back, I think, creates a sense of relief and security in the cornerback position as well that we've already kind of seen get developed in other positions. So I'm super about this.
It's that old additive, iron sharpens iron.
Right.
They're just gonna make each other that much better.
And that depth is what kind of separates the good teams from the great teams, right? It's football. Injuries are going to happen. Players are going to not play well. So when you can replace your starters with somebody, just as good or, 90% of the person in front of them, then that goes a long way.
Yeah, you don't have a big drop off.
Yeah, definitely. Again, is what separates good teams from great teams, like you said. And that's what we were talking about a lot at the end of last season, is what separates State from being this good team to being this great team that gets national recognition. Talking about Savage Wolves having a huge part in this, we're shameless promo of Savage Wolves all the time. This is how you get that team that is great, is when you are contributing to, the team that you care about, and you're getting something in return too. Not only are you getting these players back, you're getting items, you're getting experiences. Yep. And Savage Wolves played a huge part in Aiden White coming back. So this is definitely something that you want to think about. If you are a huge NC State fan, you want to see the team thrive, Savage Wolves, One Pack Collective, all that is your way to do so.
Yeah, it's a good segue. We got a couple episodes coming out later this week where we had Reed Johnson, who's the president of the board of One Pack NIL. I sat down with him right before I came on here, and he's got some really good stuff to share. So be on the lookout for those episodes. There's some really cool things coming out. I'm actually excited He dropped some nuggets of what we can expect here in the coming months. And look, I'm ready. I'm ready for it now. I'm ready for it now. So it's a really good interview. So I definitely suggest you go check it out when we release it. Probably I think Thursday or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So be on the lookout for those later this week, and also be on the lookout tomorrow. We are partnering with Homefield, who is putting out a new NC State merch drop. So if you need more merch, you can never have enough for all the basketball games, football games, all of your athletic events. Make sure to use the code Tuffy for their merch drop, which is dropping tomorrow.
Yep,
you will get 10% off. Yeah, 10 a.m. tomorrow. You will get 10% off your entire order. That is just TUFFY Tuffy, all caps. So make sure to use that and tweet us, send us in Discord, you in your new NC State merch from Homefield. We also tweeted about this, so if you lose that code or anything, feel free to check out our Twitter. But tomorrow, 10 a.m., Homefield is dropping 5 new items of NC State merch. So be sure to really look out. I believe 5 new items. They have other items too, but this is their new drop. But 10% off everything with the code Tuffy. So please go check them out and let us know if you get anything.
I definitely will be getting 1 item, maybe 2. We'll see. But there's some good stuff in there. I like it. I like the stuff.
Yeah, there's some good stuff. Make sure you go to their Twitter to check it out. They haven't revealed the pictures yet, but we got a little sneak peek, and I'm excited.
Yeah, they're definitely gonna get some of my money again. I've ordered a few times. I know Michael's got the varsity jacket. He was rocking that at the Carolina game. So, they've got some good stuff. So, yeah, go get it. Go buy their stuff.
And now, even if they get more of your money, you're getting 10% off.
There you go.
With code Tuffy. All right, more football news. We had a lot going on in football this week. The NCAA approved NC State offensive line Dawson Hamarillo's waiver. He received a medical redshirt waiver and will be eligible this fall after missing the 2023 season. How do we feel about this? What are we most excited about here?
That's big. He, like the tweet says, he can play all along the line. He's from Oregon. I believe he started at left tackle in 2022 for Oregon when they beat Ohio State in Columbus. So, I mean, he's played all along. I think most likely you'll see him either backup guard, maybe starting guard. I don't know, but, not playing for a year. He's probably behind the 8 ball to the guys who played last year, but he's definitely, when he's healthy, he'll definitely be a really good 6th O lineman who can kind of plug in anywhere, whether it be injury or you just need to get somebody out.
For sure.
Sorry guys, I messed up my microphone with the Bucks touchdown. I screwed up my. Sorry, I'm trying to multitask. I should be focusing slowly on the live stream, but this is what happens when it's playoff football and my squad's playing. But I'm excited about this. This was we kind of expected that he would get a medical red shirt, but you just never know with the NCAA what they're gonna say or what their response is gonna be. But I think Michael was kind of hitting it when I came back. Like, if nothing else, this is a depth piece. But he is a guy that has some starting, some P5 starting, but he is a little bit behind. But maybe he comes back bigger and stronger. And it's a guy that he's not a transfer into the system this year, and he has a year under the system. If he's able to come back, that's an added bonus.
Yeah, agreed. And again, we never really know with these waivers. We were hoping for this, expecting this. But NCAA, we know, can be kind of iffy with waivers. But I know that the offensive line was something we kind of talked about more like mid-season during football this season, about something that needed to be improved for this team to thrive. And obviously, State had a fantastic second half of their football season. But there's just another piece that you can then add on to that to assure that your team is having success in that department. So very excited for him.
Yeah, I think as a whole, we've recruited a couple of guys the last couple of cycles. We got Jamello back. I think the offensive line is going to be much more improved. Yeah,
I mean, but you're bringing back 4 of the 5 starters, and the fifth starter who's gone, you're replacing him with a center from Notre Dame who started for 3 years there. Like that's pretty much the best replacement you could ask for.
Yeah. That's my only concern is he is a new guy. Obviously the quarterback's new too, so they'll have to get used to each other. But he's a Notre Dame guy, so he's pretty smart. So I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue moving forward. I think we won't talk about it too much, but if you do have any question marks, it might be the offensive line. But like you said, Lindsay, that was a unit that got stronger as the year went by. So I don't expect anything to change moving forward.
Yeah, and right now, I guess we haven't officially heard anything one way or the other, but I mean, Anthony Belton's all signs point to him coming back. I don't know when the deadline is to declare for the draft. He didn't enter the portal, so
yeah, I think the draft is like the middle of February, if I'm memory. I think it's like around the 15th of February.
Okay. So
one last tweet of the week here. It says, "This is only the beginning. One pack, one goal. The final 2023 AP and coaches poll have NC State football at number 21. How do we feel about this ending point, and what are your kind of goals for preseason poll and also the 2024 season?"
So sorry, just going back to that. I was looking up when you said so. It is today.
Today.
The deadline was today. So
I knew it was the 15th. I just didn't think it was January 15th.
So I mean, I'll take that as a sign that Belton is for sure coming back. But so yeah, we finished in top 25. I think when you look at the college football playoff poll, we finished.
Matters.
Yeah, because when the bowl games come, the AP poll takes into account the bowl games, which you can
however you want to slice that, right?
Put so much weight into that. Peyton Wilson's not playing, so we're gonna drop in the polls. But I think it's really obviously finishing ranked is great. It provides that that bump for next year when this is a 12-team playoff next year. So if you're gonna, the best way to be highly ranked is to start ranked. So any higher the better.
Yeah, it's a much easier launching spot to be in the top 20 because you figure we'll probably be somewhere right where we finished. I would say anywhere from 17 to 21 is where I could expect the preseason ranking to be. And so you're in the conversation. If you're not going to win the division or the conference, at least be in the top 12. Though we saw what the committee thinks of the ACC, it still may be a one team league next year. With it being the conference winner. So obviously your first goal is to win the conference, so that way there's no doubt about it. But at least put yourself in the conversation.
Definitely. All right. And now we want to hear from you guys. We're going to hop on over to our Tuffy's mailbag. These are questions asked to us in our Discord, which if you're not a part of, please join. We have the link up on Twitter. And also, if you have questions that you think of along the way, feel free to drop them in the comments and we will discuss those as well. So let's hop on over to our Tuffy's mailbag. All right. Someone said, "Is Keatts in the Herb zone?" What do we think?
Go for it, Michael.
That's a lot of layers to that one. I mean, he's definitely approaching it.
I was going to say the same thing, approaching, because Herb was here 10 plus years, I believe.
Yeah.
9, I think. Let me get that for reference. Keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have a different opinion than a lot of people. That he's been here 7 years. It's tough to judge the first 5 of those when he's dealing with an investigation from the previous coach and 2 years of COVID, which I know everybody had to deal with it, but that still doesn't make it normal. And then you had the bottom dropout in that 21-22 season. And since then he's changed up the staff. Transfer portal has been really good for Keatts.
So Herb was here 10 years, so for reference, and this is year 7 of Keatts. Go ahead. I don't know. Like I felt like let me just pull up some. I mean, that it was 96 to 2006, so my memory is not
Yeah.
the best.
Well,
Go ahead.
You just need to see progress. I think that was the issue with Herb. You didn't really see progress after a couple of years. But if when you compare it to Keatts, you went from dead last to making the NCAA tournament. You have to make it again this year. You probably got to win a game. But it's approaching. It's approaching it. It's like we know what he can do, but
So the reason
where do you draw the line?
I don't even know if he's even like Herb Sendek comparable at this point, right? And the reason I'm going to say that is Sendek went to 5 straight NCAA tournaments. Like,
yeah,
he hasn't even got
it's like
to 2 straight, right?
Yeah, it's like it's the same, but the thought process is the same. Yeah. It's just level of success is different.
But, I mean, I think obviously Keatts hasn't played Carolina and Duke as much, but Sendek was 8-38 against those teams. I think Keatts is not too far from 500. I know it feels like almost every year we split with those guys. At least it feels that way. At least recently, I don't know. Without having a full resume. To your point, Michael, like he's made some adjustments. The cloud over, I mean, like you gotta remember, like we were in for some really good recruits, and I think those guys got steered away from us due to the potential sanctions. So who knows, what would have happened if we didn't have that over our heads. I don't know, like. I really want the guy to succeed because, like, looking for a new coach sucks because it just sets your program even further. But at some point, you got to, Boo has to make that decision, and like this year, I mean, he went to the tournament last year. It wasn't even. We weren't even a bubble team. Like, remember last year we thought we were a bubble team, but we really weren't a bubble team in the eyes of the committee.
You're kind of locked in before.
Yeah.
We got destroyed by Clemson in the ACC tournament, and still we wasn't even in the last 4 in. So
yeah.
I hear a lot of fans use the line that Keatts is a great recruiter but not a great coach. Every year we say, oh, we have this guy, we're going to be different. We're going to be like that. I was really frustrated with him in the Louisville game when it felt like that was slipping away, when we were up by 14 and they got it down to 2. And they put the camera on him and he's standing on the sidelines looking kind of clueless. He looked as though he didn't really have a strong direction for this team, which can be upsetting when you feel like you do have a team that has a lot of talent and potential. I think Keatts needs to be, not only making the goal to get into the tournament, but to make it past the first round, because fans get tired of seeing their team go to the tournament year after year and just exit in the first round. People want a team that they can count on, that they can rely on. And I think Keatts is a great recruiter. He has recruited a lot of talent, but I think a lot of times he lacks direction and kind of discipline with those teams and those players.
Yeah, I think the one, there's multiple arguments, or not arguments, but frustrations that the fan base has is, what is the identity of Kevin Keatts' teams, right? Because it doesn't feel like we have an identity. We don't see quote unquote offensive plays, right? That's another thing you hear. It's like everyone says it's like hero ball or ISO ball. Though, you did see some nice plays drawn up in that Notre Dame game at the end. So obviously we are running offense. It just doesn't feel like offense.
Yeah. It's just, I agree. This is the first year his defensive metrics has been better than the offense this year. First time in his tenure, which is great because, you have to assume that Keatts will figure it out on the offensive end, because his average spot offensively is 20 spots higher than defense. So, if you can just get back to your average offensive team and keep the defense playing at a high level, I mean, the team can. I mean, it's a better outlook than it has been, but you just gotta, like I said, you have to see progress, because And that's probably this question you can't really answer it until after the season because, like I said, if he makes it to the ACC tournament final or wins a game in the tournament,
Right.
but
I
if
think the other thing
you lose
too,
your first game, then you're out. Then it's similar situation.
I think the other part of the frustration for the fan base too is you saw, Coach Krzyzewski retire. You saw Roy Williams retire, and everyone thought, well, this is the time we can strike. The iron is hot, right? Like Kevin Keatts is the most established coach in the triangle. The sanctions are gone. All of those buzzwords, if you will, and we just it doesn't feel up to this point that we have captured that momentum. And we've talked about it. Like basketball is the easiest sport in order for you to turn around. It takes the least amount of personnel. If you got three dudes, you can go out and win a championship. I think the biggest thing, at least this year, and the metrics will show it, we just don't shoot the ball well. I mean, and in a sport where that's the whole goal of the game is to get the ball into the hoop, and you don't do it well, you're going to struggle. I don't care how good your defense is. So I think, and I honestly, like, other than probably like a Ralston Turner, trying to think of like maybe Al Freeman, like we haven't had those shooter dudes. Like during Keatts' tenure. Do you think of anybody that's really been a pure shooter like in a while?
Not really.
Not
Like
really.
you said, I mean, Ralston Turner is probably closest you get to it.
Yeah. So I think that's one thing that we don't have that dude, right? Like you can remember guys as going back as Vinny Del Negro, Terry Gannon. Those dudes could shoot. Scott Wood could shoot, and I think that's not his style of game.
I think that DJ Horn can be that guy, but the problem is he's bringing the ball up the court and initiating the offense for the most part. I mean, I know Horn had a bad game against UNC, but on the season, I'm trying to look it up. Yeah, on the season, he's shooting 44% from three. So it's just, I think, and this isn't anything genius. I think a lot of people have said this. If you can play Horn off the ball more, and whoever that is, whether it's Michael O'Connell or LJ Thomas running, even though he hasn't played much, but that's the problem. You don't have that guy who can initiate the offense outside of O'Connell and Horn.
Yeah, and I think
you need Horn off the ball.
Yeah, I think the problem with O'Connell is he doesn't give you the defensive portion of what everyone else can give you. He's a really good facilitator of the ball, like you said, and it's not hard to tell. Like the offense is much more efficient with him running the offense. I mean, I can think of probably a dozen passes that he's made into the interior for easy layups and dunks with him running. But on the defensive end, he doesn't pick up like a Jaden Taylor or Casey Morsell. And I think that's the problem. Like I think you were really hoping one of those two dudes could be that other shooter. And then you could potentially have a O'Connell in there more often, but you need the offense or the defense.
Yeah. I mean, O'Connell leads the team in assists and has the best 3-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. So it's just you don't get much from him offensively. He's not going to drive to the basket and make a play when you need to. Although he had a couple of nice plays against Louisville, but
that's not his
consistent basis.
Yeah.
I think there's something you revisit at the end of the season. You see the way the rest of conference play unfolds, the way the ACC tournament and the NCAA tournament unfold, and this is something to revisit. Again, I think it's really, like you said, complicated to answer this during the season.
I think we have this conversation with all our coaches throughout every season, like football, basketball.
Yeah, it's just unavoidable.
We hate them when they lose, and then we hate them when they win. It makes no sense. So
yeah, I mean, we didn't. Yeah, I mean, like after the Duke game, I mean, what State was sitting at 4-3, right? And we were like, what's going to happen now? But,
so we'll revisit in April.
Or we get a fire Doran before the end of the season. Like that's what we do as NC State fans. We love jumping to conclusions.
All right, then we'll end here. How confident do you feel about Anae finally figuring out how to make this offense super productive next year?
I thought he figured it out after the Duke game.
Yeah, I think he figured it out. Yeah,
about that.
I think he figured it out end of last year. Yeah.
Totally.
Well, here's the thing. Like Anaya came in during the bowl season, and he had to figure out what he had. He thought he had one thing, right, with Armstrong in the offense. And then when that didn't work, credit to, both Anaya and Doran and everybody to say, okay, this isn't working. Let's flip to what we do well and let's just do the heck out of it. And, now that Anaya's been in the system, he's got all these dudes, he's got a plethora of weapons. I think we're going to be just fine on the offensive side of the ball next year.
Agreed. Yeah, I was feeling super comfortable at the end of the regular season. I think this was a question that we definitely could have debated after that Duke game. But now I feel super confident that he did figure it out. He did kind of make a home for himself at NC State, figure out the culture, the team players, things like that. And I think the transfers and recruits coming in are just going to build on that further. So I'm pretty confident.
Yeah. And the thing with raising talent level, which we definitely did big time on the offensive side, is that you don't need to rely on the creativity as much. You can just get the ball to your playmakers and let them, like, a lot of the times that's what it was, like a little push pass to KC and he took it for 60 yards. Like that's not much scheming up there by an eye. He just said, okay, give it to our best guy. So,
yeah.
When you have more options like that, hopefully that makes it easier for him.
Yeah, we probably only ran like 5 different plays, but we just ran it from different looks, different sets.
Right.
But the principles were the same. So, we would, whether we put the guy in motion, where we moved, guys around. I think you're going to see a much more open playbook, and I think you're going to see a lot more vertical. Anaya is from the Mike Leach coaching tree, so those vertical principles are what he loves, and I think you're going to have that with a Grayson McCall and all the speed from the wide receivers. So I think you're going to see a very much different offense next year, assuming everything falls into place as they're thinking.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to football next year. Greg, do you still have your countdown to how many days until we start?
228.
But who's counting?
Yeah, not me.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us as we talked in our live stream today. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and follow us on all of our social media. As Greg said, we will have episodes coming out later this week about Savage Wolves and all of that. So be looking out for those. And also be looking out tomorrow at 10 a.m. We are partnering with Home Field. They have their new NC State merchandise line coming out. And if you use code Tuffy, that's just all capitals, TUFFY, you will get 10% off your whole order. 10% off. So go get yourself some new NC State merchandise. Look out for our videos later this week. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, go Pack.
Go Pack.